Meyer, founder and CEO of Amazon solutions provider Envision Horizon.
And I'm Todd Pachowski, Director of Performance Marketing at Envision Horizons. We've teamed up to make the Common Mistakes podcast.
Todd and I meet with business owners, leaders, and investors to discuss common mistakes and other business experiences they've learned from. Tune in every other Tuesday for your dose of business advice. Welcome to another episode of Common Mistakes, where we talk about mistakes we've made or seen so you don't have to learn the hard way. I'm Laura Meyer.
And I'm Todd Pachowski. Today we have Andrew Forman as our distinguished guest. Andrew founded Givz, which is the first performance or purpose-driven performance marketing platform. We'll break down what exactly that means shortly. Prior to Givz, Andrew spent 6 years in finance, mergers and acquisitions, investment banking, and was the treasurer of a nonprofit with the mission of enhancing literacy in Africa, where he loved playing any sport and game available. He now lives with his wife and 2 children, adapting sports and games to relay races and hide and seek. Andrew received his MBA from Harvard Business School and his BA in mathematics and economics from Hamilton College. Andrew, super excited to talk to you today and learn about Givz. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here talking to you both.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I know you've been prepped on this, but I always like to open up with, tell me about one of your biggest mistakes that today you're grateful for because it was such a learning experience.
Yeah, I think, and we were briefly chatting about this, knowing that your gut is probably right and you should act on it sooner rather than later. Working, I can convince myself that it's working, but in your heart of hearts, you know it's not working. You need to pivot, and you could extend that type of feeling the same time. You know, the first time I knew I needed to fire somebody, I think I waited a year after doing that, right? I waited a year too long to pivot. I waited a year too long to fire somebody. And that kind of stuff really inhibits growth. And I'm grateful for learning that the hard way now, because you read about that. I read about that. I studied that in business school. Of course, you have to hire fast, but fire faster. But it's just in practice, actually doing it is really, really tough. And so just working on getting that better. And so we had, one hire, okay, 3 months and out, right? And so getting those reps in. And if they're not wowing you, you got to get somebody who's an A+ talent in. So I think overall, just saying, trusting that internal message to yourself.
Todd and I know this all too well.
Yeah.
But I think, it's pain. It can be such a painful learning process too, right? Because I think as business leaders, we want to feel like we're setting people up for success. We want to feel like we can help build careers. Totally. But at the end of the day, is that having that B or even C player on the team can be so detrimental to the A players that you could actually set yourself up for losing the A player and then being stuck with the C player, and then you're really in trouble.
100%. Yes. that is absolutely something that you have to learn the hard way as well.
So what is something you do differently now because of this learning experience?
The biggest thing is just acting quickly on my gut instincts. I'm generally an analytical person. I like to sit with a decision and analyze that decision. And there's really very little room for that if you want to build a company at the speed you need to build the company at. And so I think that's my biggest learning over the past 5 years of being an entrepreneur is go fast, act quickly, and then react to whatever comes back. But you will never regret either, firing somebody that you thought you need to fire. It's better for them. It's better for you. Go do it. Putting something up on the website that you weren't sure about. Is this really our voice? Try it out. See if it plummets, conversion rates, or if conversion rates skyrocket, or if nothing moves and nothing matters. Like you have to try stuff. You can debate it all you want in your head, but you have to just go do stuff.
Yeah. And Andrew, I'm going to put you in the spot here. And I can give you my answer too, but what would you say your hiring success rate is at this point?
I would say it's less than 50%.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably 40%.
And it's interesting because the topic of people and interviewing and all of this, I think it comes up, Todd, like 75% of our episodes with business owners. Like it is a hot topic. And we had a guest on the show a few episodes back where he prides himself on his interviewing skills, but still claims only a 50% success rate.
Yeah. And we're pretty biased that we kind of lean a lot of our questions into this as well, because it's a constant learning from our side. So yeah. I think, but you're absolutely right. You can't wait for that 360 review 6 months in and see the data that says they're not performing here, here, and here. Like, so just do it.
At the early stages, there's just no time for that.
Yeah. Love to stay on this topic. We're here to talk about Givz a little bit. So before we go into specific questions surrounding Givz, because I've done some research on what it is, I'd love for you to give just a quick synopsis of the platform, what it is, why it's important, maybe how you got started, if you want to go there a little.
Sure. So Givz provides donation incentives for brands. It allows them to run something like, hey, spend over $75, get 5% of your purchase back to give to a charity of your choice, something like that. And so when people think about cause-driven marketing, donation-driven marketing, they generally think about something that, for example, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily add what the brand thinks it adds, like a 10% of all sales are going to this one charity that nobody ever remembers or nobody has heard of. And it's like, that's not going to incentivize somebody to buy right now. Maybe it's a slight brand building exercise. Or even another mistake that people will make is like, hey, we're going to add this ability to round up your purchase. And so I go into a CVS and they say, hey, you came in to buy toilet paper. You're spending $12.37. Now we're going to ask you if you want to donate 63 of your own cents to make it an even $13 purchase, and we'll donate that 67 cents to a charity, again, that I can never remember. And I think I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they're like, that doesn't leave me feeling good. It means I either was guilted into donating the money, or I have no idea what happened to that money after, or I say no, and then I feel bad about it. And it's like, I should have just bought this on Amazon. Like, why did I even come in here, right? And then I think to turn that on its head and say, you walk into CVS and there's a sign that says, hey, if you spend $50 or more in CVS today, we're going to give you $5 to give to whatever charity you want. You're like, oh, I just came in to buy toilet paper, but I could buy so many things here. Let me think about, I need this, this, and this. And so I end up spending $80 at CVS. That's a much better outcome for CVS, first and foremost. Second, after I make the purchase, CVS is going to give me something that says like, hey, scan this for $5 to give to whatever charity you want. I now scan that. I think about, what charity do I want to support? Oh, my friend is actually having this runs a charity. I'm going to donate to her charity. All of a sudden I tell her, hey, do you know CVS is doing this? Like, it is just a much better way of donating. And now you're donating $5 at CVS, but only when somebody spends $50 or more. So it's a win for CVS and a win for the end consumers, and a much bigger win for the charities as well.
Yeah, it's an amazing concept, and kind of flip on the discounting option and also some of the other means of raising funds for charity, like you brought up. What does the adoption from companies look like for Givz currently? Are brands using it? What kind of impact are they seeing and growth from changing their model?
Yeah. So the biggest, the always on initiative is this, like, lift your average order value. So we're seeing 10, 20, 30% lifts in average order value across the site. So which means, that's 10, 20, 30% of growth overnight, and not growth that you had to pay for, but growth from your existing customers. So extremely profitable 20% growth when you just put a banner on top of your site that says spend over X, where X is 20% higher, 30% higher than your current average order value, 50% higher than your current average order value. Depending on the buyer journey, we can help you craft that kind of exactly right offer. But average order value, let's say, is $74. You say spend 100 or more. You watch average order value overnight pop up to $86, $87, and you're like, well, that is just that's a good thing, right? And so we see anybody that starts with that's generally where people start with us. They just never leave, right? Because they see their average order value pop up. We actually had our first client now who has been with us over a year and a half, I guess at this point. They had a spend threshold at $200. They recently got their AOV all the way up to basically that $200 mark. So they just shifted it. And, after a year and a half of having spend over $200, get 20 to give to charity, they said spend over 300, get $25 to give to charity. And so now they're seeing their average order value continue to creep up. So very low churn on that side. From the adoption standpoint, it's still a new thing. People have never heard of donation incentives. They don't know what it's like, and getting anybody to try anything new, especially when charity historically has not been tied to a specific ROI like this is very tough.
Yeah. I think one of the questions I have, I guess, in terms of the brand choice when it comes to charity. So do the brands and companies pick the charities that they want to partner with, or do the consumers pick that? How does that work in the flow?
Yes, you have actually a little bit of both, where the brands can highlight specific charities that they care about. But at the end of the day, it's the end consumer's choice. So the brand is really putting their money where their mouth is and saying, hey, Todd, we care about what you care about. And Laura, we care about what you care about. And Andrew, we care about what you care about as well. And we can all see CVS cares about Oceania and the environment. CVS cares about the Red Cross and everything that's happening, in the Ukraine situation right now. And CVS cares about whatever, right? So CVS chooses what the easy buttons are for us to say, okay, yes, I care about the Ukraine situation too. I'm going to donate my $5 to the Red Cross right now. Or I can go into the search bar and say, hey, maybe Todd, you say, great, I'm going to donate to the Red Cross. But Andrew goes in and he types in Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center because he has a family member there. And Laura goes in and she has a local animal shelter that she wants to support. Great. The three of us have now supported things that we care about as individuals. And the company actually gets all of that data back, right? So they can say, hey, it is World Pet Day, so we're going to email Laura on this. We're not going to spend an email on Andrew on this because we know he cares about cancer research. And so on, Breast Cancer Awareness Month or whatever it may be, we're going to hit up Andrew and so on and so forth.
Andrew, I'm curious. So you had mentioned earlier that you did a big pivot 2 years ago. Can we talk about that a little bit and how it is that you came to this specific business model?
Yeah. So the original business idea, I was the treasurer of a nonprofit for 5 years. So I had identified two big issues. One was the just general payment friction of not being able, like people saying like, your website's kind of crappy. And like, I don't have my credit card on me right now. Can I just Venmo you the money? Right. Like a Venmo for charitable giving, directing that direct to consumer, getting people to download an app, put in their payment information once, but then never having to put in their payment information again. Trying to get people over that hurdle to the second payment was extremely difficult. Once we got people there, it was great, but the CAC to LTV basically was not going to work on that type of business. Like I said, you convince yourself like it's working. We had initial traction from people that really gave. Like we had people that were giving to 50 different charities and writing 50 checks at the end of the year, and they like loved our solution and they were like giving us 5-star reviews, and it was crazy. And those guys were like the evangelists. But even as the early adopters started to come on board, it was still costing us more money than we were ever going to make back to acquire those people. So we just we should have known earlier that wasn't going to come to fruition. And I was telling the story earlier. I was on vacation, like the first vacation after 2.5 years of grinding at this at this startup that wasn't working. And I was just like, all right, we got to shut it down, right? We got to shut it down. And I don't want to shut it down, but I know I have to. It's already a year past when I knew I should have been pivoting. And I'm lying there and I'm thinking about the corporate angle here. And I, luckily enough, had a wife who was supportive and invests in a ton of direct to consumer companies. And so she made 10 introductions while we were on vacation saying like, hey, like my husband has this idea. Do you guys want to try this out? And so we tried it out with 2 brands, and we ran an A/B test the week I got back from vacation, one on Facebook, one on email, same copy, same creative, same email, whatever. 2 different calls to action. One, A test was $40 off, $50 off. B test was $40 to give to charity, $50 to give to charity, and saw a 20% better conversion on the charity incentive as opposed to the dollars off. And that was it. Then we were like, okay, done. I saw those 2 things. We knew we needed to do something. This is it. Pivot the whole business.
And now I'm curious, who gets the tax write-off? Is it the brand or is it the customer?
The brand is the one donating. So the brand gets the tax write-off, but importantly, the consumer does get a confirmation email that says, hey, the brand is donating this $40 to Memorial Sloan Kettering because you chose it, right? And so that closed loop is actually there. And down the line, charities are just receiving money from us. So they're contacting us every week. And we don't have the resources yet to be able to close the loop like we really want to, like later on down a year from now, hey, that's $40 helped us, build this wing or do whatever it was that the charity is doing. We want to be able to have that. And like, hey, remember your purchase from Therese actually went to helping save, this many pets, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think showing that proof of donation from the brand side is vitally important for the consumer's confidence.
Totally.
since we're marketers here, what does the flow look like? The checkout flow? Does that just get a click button ad in there? Is it seamless with Shopify? How does that interconnect?
Yes. So super importantly, and I'm glad you asked this question because again, like even as much as my end goal is to send a ton of money to charity, but we also are not a charity. As the end goal for the brands needs to be increase sales and grow. And that'll allow them to give back more. But I don't even particularly care if they want to donate or not. I just want them to know that by donating, this is going to increase your sales the most. And so to that end, with that in mind, on the checkout flow, you don't want any clicks ahead of checkout. You don't even want a checkbox ahead of checkout. You want people to know that if they spend over a certain amount, they're going to get money to give to charity. But you do not want them to think about what charity they have to give to or make a choice or click from a drop-down box. 0 clicks. So we've built it so that there's nothing ahead of checkout. You go ahead and check out. You can insert something on the PDP. You can have a little reminder on the cart or the checkout page, basically saying, yes, you're qualifying for $5 to give to a charity of choice, which is great. But you just hit pay. Then on the thank you confirmation page, you've already paid, you've already bought. That's when you get to actually allocate the money that you care about and to the cause that you care about. This does 2 things. One, it makes people take that extra step and actually interact and have the agency themselves. So like it matters. If you don't do it, the company could donate that money anyway, but they don't have to. You have to pay for the people that don't care. So somebody was going to spend over $100 anyway. They get to the confirmation page, they leave, they don't donate. Fine, don't pay for that person. But maybe double your offer because half the people aren't going to care. They aren't going to do it. Reward the people that are going to do it. And they'll be able to actually go ahead and donate $20 instead of 10.
Yeah. I love that you've thought that through and reduced the friction for checkout. Makes it much more seamless and easier for everyone involved.
Totally.
Does Givz help reduce like the dependency of discounting for brands? So, all right, we usually do a 25% and that's when we see our spike in orders, but let's try to remove that, use Givz and see what happens. And then if we take Givz away for a little bit, do they have to discount to get back? Or do you have scenarios where you can speak to that?
Yeah. So what we generally do is, so if you're consistently doing this 25% discount, people know and they're waiting for a discount, right? Every couple months or every month, you're doing some sort of discount like this. It's hard to go cold turkey and totally take it away. But what we've seen extremely good success with is something like, hey, 25% was the discount you were giving. All of a sudden you switch it up to 15% off plus 15% to give to charity. Now that looks like 30% to the end consumer, but really it's like, oh, okay, no, this is only 50. I'm paying 85 cents on the dollar. I'm not paying 75. I'm paying 85 cents on the dollar. And then I'm getting another 15 cents to give to a charity that I care about. And that's a cool new initiative. So you'll actually see a conversion boost from something like that. But on top of that, from the brand side of things, 15 plus 15 won't actually equal 30 because again, you're going to have some people that don't care about the charity angle, still buying, getting the 15% off, but then never taking advantage of that other 15%. So it's actually going to cost you less than 25% at the end of the day. So you'll see a conversion boost. It'll cost you less than 25%. And now you've recalibrated expectations to not expect the 25% off, but only to expect the 15% off. And you can continue to start working that down, utilizing Givz incentives to make up for the difference until you get down to maybe it's a 10% off plus 20% to give to charity or 10% off plus 10% to give to charity. And now you've started to retrain your audience, and especially all the new people coming in aren't expecting this 25% off all the time.
And in the scenario where the funds aren't allocated to a charity, that's just kind of a wash, nothing happens. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So in this again, it's up to the brand. They can decide how they want to play it. But I would generally say, if you want to donate, let's say the goal was, I want to compete with my 25% off offer, right? So 25% off, I want to A/B test that to a Givz comparable offer. I would say do 15% off plus 15% to give to charity. And if somebody doesn't donate, don't, just keep that money then. Just let it expire after 14 days and keep it. Because now your 25% is going to cost 25% off the top every single time. 15% off is going to cost 15% off the top every time. But then the 15% to give to charity is only going to hit when somebody actually does it. And let's say somebody does it for easy numbers sake, somebody does it 1/3 of the time. So 1 out of 3 people actually go in and donate the money. So 1/3 of 15% would be 5%. So you're donating 5% of sales, you gave 15% off. So that all in costs you 20% as opposed to the 25%. So if you get the same number of purchases from those two places, this is much more profitable and much better for training purposes. And if you get more sales from this, then it's a no-brainer.
Just a super, super fascinating idea and concept. And it's like in a lot of ways, and I'm not trying to pick holes in it, but it doesn't seem like there's any sort of holes, or like it's a win-win across the board for brands, for consumers. But just where do you see any downside? Is there any downside to putting Givz on your platform?
There really isn't any downside, which is tough. The biggest thing that people get hung up on is like, hey, I don't know. I want to evaluate my whole CSR strategy. This can give you options as to what you should be doing. What do your customers care about? Put 3 different types of, put environment, put pets, put current events, kind of into your featured charity list and see what people gravitate towards. And that'll help you figure out your CSR initiatives. But the whole point is this is not a CSR initiative per se.
Yeah. Well, and you said it on the blog, there's a quote, and it's 78% of consumers believe that brands should do more than just make money, and that they should also have a positive impact on society. So you're hitting that. And then I will point out there's another resource on your blog that has 32 cause marketing statistics. That's just like, if a brand's not sold on it, I think reading through that, you probably will be sold on it. So just point consumers that way.
Yeah. And we feel like this is cause marketing 2.0, right? I mean, this is, you saw what something like Tom's did, right? When you saw the journey that Tom's had, where it was like, all right, buy a pair of shoes, give a pair of shoes. And they were so meticulous about sending that pair of shoes every time somebody bought a pair of shoes. But at some point, the place they were sending that shoes was like, hey, we don't need any more shoes. That's not what we need right now. And people latched onto that, and that was great. But then when the charity came out and said like, hey, we don't actually need any more shoes, send us anything else, or we need money, or send elsewhere. Tom's wasn't set up to do that. They ended up, taking a hit because of that. They come back. Now, what are they doing? They say, hey, you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, here are 6 different things that you could give to, right? And so I think we're taking that and bringing that to everybody and making it a 5-minute implementation for you.
Super cool. And what would you say your long-term goal is here?
Long-term goal. So we have the mission goal of $1 billion sent to charity. I think we're 1/1000th, maybe 2/1000th of the way there now. At this point, having donated $2 million to charities through our brands. But I want to send $1 billion to charity, but I want to do it in a way that, again, has a positive marketing ROI, because I think the $1 billion is just the beginning. Already, corporations donate $16.5 billion a year. You look at the marketing budgets of companies across the United States, that's in the trillions. So how do we get some of that going to solve real problems in a way that it's just as effective as marketing budget that they were spending elsewhere? That's what I want to tackle.
Awesome. What are some of the frictions that you're dealing with now? So as Todd was mentioning, seems like a win-win. Why is this not on every e-commerce site right now?
It's such a good question. And I think, and as we talk about mistakes, I think underinvesting in the brand, the Givz brand itself, we were like, hey, this is a no-brainer. Everybody should want to try it. But getting people to understand it, right? And being able to, I have a conversation with somebody, I see their eyes like, okay, I get it. Whoa, this is really cool. I've never thought of something like this. Now I understand it. I get it. But it gets lost in translation from that conversation to the next person. And what I think we need to do is really invest in writing down the value prop so that people's eyes click, as I say it, when they read something. We haven't invested in that enough. And I think that is where we made mistakes in the past and trying to remedy them now. I think the reality is we're early on this. It's not a fad yet. And I don't think I think it will be here to stay, as opposed to a fad that comes and goes. But right now, people they've never seen anything like it. They don't understand. And they're hesitant to try new things because, like you said, they know the 25% brings in the cash, and they're just trapped right now trying to survive.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need some great case studies.
Yeah. And we do have the great case studies, right? And so I think it's just a function of, marketing those more effectively and efficiently.
I was just going to add, I recently read from Forbes. It was a stat that said 2/3 of consumers will pay more for sustainable products, but it was a third of brands don't think, or what was the stat? 2/3 of retailers believe the consumers will not pay that.
Right.
So there's that disconnect between brands and consumers. And I think most consumers would gladly do this in most situations, but getting brands on the same page is where we need to go.
Yeah, it's inertia, I guess, at the end of the day. People stuck in their ways and just not willing to test stuff. Even though everybody's like, yeah, it's my job, the marketing department's job to test different things. I'm like, okay, here's a really easy thing to test. And then just getting that over the hump is still a sales cycle.
Yeah. So what if a brand is interested? I think we're about wrapping it up here. So how can they find Givz? How do they get started? Anything else you want to tell anybody before we finish up?
Yeah, no, I'd say you can easily find us Givz, Givz, I guess worth spelling. So Givz.com. We did get the .com, which was fun and interesting and took 6 months. But we got there. So Givz.com, you can chat with us, book a meeting there, see a little bit on the website. If you're on a Shopify store, you can easily just install the app and get going. There's a free trial there, but contact us and we can extend that for you and just get you going on this type of thing. And I guess the one parting thought would be, I think people feel like, hey, it has to be exclusive. I'm either going to do good or I'm going to make money. And I've just seen it now 115 times with 115 different clients that it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, donating money can make you more money. And I think it's just hard for people to believe that, but I've at least made it extremely easy for you to try it. So come check it out.
Well, thank you very much for hopping on. I think this is a fascinating concept and something everybody should be looking into if they haven't already. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Common Mistakes. If you're not yet subscribed, be sure to follow us and visit envisionhorizons.com to sign up for our weekly newsletter with all the latest Amazon news and expert advice. For Amazon sellers looking for more support, check out our Amazon brand management platform, My Horizons, and sign up for a free trial. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Common Mistakes.